Hello and welcome back to this how-to guide for our GDS Lab software. In this video I want to show you how I can display multiple axes on graphs during a test, and maybe a little bit more information about how I display graphs generally. I've got a very basic test that I'm just going to start off, which is an advanced loading test on a simple shear machine. I'm just going to adjust the axial displacement in a slow cyclic manner, and the horizontal displacement will increase linearly, just so that we can demonstrate how the graphs work only. Now you can see I've got one graph on the screen at the moment. If I press this button, it reveals the data behind how I want the graphs displayed. So at the moment we can see that for this plot, the information on the left is exactly what I want to see. So I can choose which stages I want to see. If I've got multiple stages, I could choose just to see the current stage, or I can choose a particular stage. So if I had 5 stages running and I was on the 5th stage, I could choose to see just stage 3, for example. The style, I can choose to plot either as linear or log on the x-axis. I'll choose linear here so that we can, for demonstration purposes, much easier to see what's going on. And I choose the x-axis series. Now, against time is of course the typical way of looking at a graph, but if I want to choose another parameter, of course I can. So there we have load against displacement for this cycle, but actually I'm going to choose go back to time since the start of the test. Now the point of this video is to show you how you can have multiple series. So multiple series on the y-axis. It's incredibly powerful, this graphing feature. If I choose to have another axis plotted, so we've got axial displacement, let me choose horizontal displacement on the same axis. So I'm just going to remove that, so that on the left axis at the moment we have axial displacement and we have horizontal displacement, and they will be against the same left-hand y-axis data set. Now, if I've got 2 sets of data that I want to plot together which are on very different axes or values, shall we say, I can choose a right-hand axis. So the right-hand axis, if I choose axial load, for example, the axial load is on a very, very small scale. In fact, because I don't have a sample in, it's just reading very small, plus or minus a few newtons. Now, of course, if we plot that against the same axis as the displacement, we wouldn't see how that was forming in detail. We can invert the data, so I can turn it upside down if that's interesting to see trends, certainly for consolidation, for example. And there we have the main features of how we set up our graphs. Now I just want to show you also, if I click this button, we see we have a new pane where we can set up new graphs. If I change the main layout to 1x2, so we've got 2 graphs, that graph pops into the main window and I can set up a suitable graph there. Now let's add an additional graph. Let's add an additional 2 graphs into our holding pane, and I can drag this into the main window and then set up another graph. So maybe I want to only see horizontal load against time. Now I have my 2 main graphs, and if I want, I could change the layout to 4 graphs. But if I wanted my 2 main graphs and then I want to change them occasionally I want to drag in one from my holding pane, I can do that. I hope that made some sense, and that gives you the idea of the extreme flexibility of how we can graph our data. Thank you very much.